We're going to spend about 20 minutes providing an overview of our high school program, but then we're going to use the rest of the time for discussion so we can really hear from each other about what's working in high school family engagement, any trends we're seeing, any challenges that we're experiencing in our work. Also, so as we talk, just kind of think about things you might want to share out with the group. We'll also share the slides with you after. And we encourage any of you, if you have high school family engagement resources or readings or research, I'm looking at you, Jessica. Pat, you are like the queen of knowing all the books we all need to be reading. And I know we all come with so many expertise. So feel free to put everything that you are loving right now in the chat so we can kind of collect a list collaboratively. All right. On to high school. So just like all of our other programs, our high school program is going to break down the complexity of engaged parenting into small, easy to achieve steps that families can use anywhere, anytime to engage with their teens. So as always, they'll be getting 3 messages a week over a 52-week period continuously through the school year and the summer months. One thing to note about high school is we'll also be linking out to some supplemental resources every 5th week to offer more support around complex topics like college and career readiness, some topics related to technology and attendance as well. The messages are, as always, specific to high schoolers' grade level. And the high school is launching at the start of the 2025 or 2024/25 school year, whenever that is for you, in core and TI in both English and Spanish to start. Just really quickly, why high school family engagement, I think everyone on this call knows of the huge benefits, right? Including higher grades, increased attendance, greater clarity on career goals and future aspirations, increased wellness and overall life satisfaction. And I think we also all know that it is hard during these years. Many of you shared on our listening sessions, families just have less clarity on how to engage, on how to support academics. And then we layer adolescent development on top of that, and students giving off very clear signals that they'd like their parents to step back. But parents can interpret that as a sign to disengage as opposed to differently engage. So when it comes to high school family engagement, there's a real need and obviously a huge benefit, which is hugely exciting to us, and made developing the program in our minds an absolute must. So we're going to dive into what we're covering in the program momentarily, but at a really high level, like our elevator, wrap it all up in a bow sentence is, we will be giving students the co-pilots they need by providing parents the guidance they want.
Thank you, Rebecca. So hi, I'm Fran, for those of you I haven't met before. I'm the Director of Content and Curriculum, and I'm going to jump in about our curriculum development process. And it mirrors the same process we've used across the development of all of our other curricula. It's multifaceted and multidimensional. We start with research, including a lit review and a standards crosswalk. We take this information and combine it with practitioner interviews. We consult with our advisors. We lead listening sessions. Some of you have participated in these sessions and are on the call today. And for high school in particular, we've been able to include teen listening sessions as well. And these have been both reassuring. So what the teens express as important to them really aligns with our research. But best of all, they've been insightful. They have been offering their perspective on what they really need most during this time period to thrive. So we use all of this information and we begin to notice emerging themes and consistent through lines, and that leads to our creation of a curricular framework. So, and the magic of these listening sessions and this research is that everyone was asking for the same things. So the result of this work was the emergence of 5 clear domains that we felt were critical to address: academics and lifelong learning, well-being and life skills, college and career readiness, home and school partnership, and approaches to parenting. And we're going to quickly dive into each one right now.
All right, I'm going to be our guide on the first three. I also realize that I never introduced myself. I just feel like I know all of you. But I'm Rebecca Honig, and I'm the Chief Content and Curriculum Officer at ParentPowered. And I also, relevant to this call, is I have three adolescents right now, varying stages of adolescence, one of which is in high school. So this was both professionally and personally very meaningful to build this program. Okay, here we go. The first domain, and just to sort of jog everyone's memory, in our programs, we cycle through these domains week by week so that parents really experience a breadth of information on a range of topical areas. The first domain is academics and lifelong learning. The first thing you might notice about it is that it is no longer singularly rooted in what children are learning in school, but also includes skills that are future facing. So those are going to be skills that set teens up to be lifelong learners. For example, self-direction and curiosity. And that's because, right, so much of the job of high school is preparing for what comes after high school. The next thing you might notice is that you don't see math and literacy or other discrete subjects here because at this age, we know it's no longer developmentally appropriate or effective for parents and caregivers to offer that direct skill support. So instead, the focus really becomes overarching strategies that are going to help teens to be self-directed, self-motivated learners, and self-advocates. Research also shows that one of the most effective ways for parents to influence academic success in adolescence is through academic socialization. We actually have an expert on this call. Jessica, I'm looking at you. This is basically helping adolescents see all the ways that their passions and interests map onto what they are learning in the school day. And this can have a profound effect on attendance and graduation rates. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation did a fascinating study on students who had dropped out of high school. And they found that 74% of these students actually had passing grades. And when asked why they quit, they said that they did not feel that what they were learning was relevant to them. So they had career ideas in mind, but no one had been discussing with them how what they were learning in school pertained to their end goal. So we can really see that when it comes to addressing things like our attendance crisis, there is an incredible at-home opportunity for parents and caregivers to help kids find personal meaning in what they're learning in school. You also see universal skills mentioned in our framework. So these are all those skills consistently ranked by employers and colleges and training programs as being critical to life beyond high school. So they include skills like adaptability, collaboration, communication, creativity, another C, critical thinking, and problem solving. We had to get a different letter in there. All right. The next domain that we cover is college and career readiness, and this is obviously totally responsive to this phase of development. Many of you may be in districts that have joined the 38 states that have begun to use ILPs or individualized learning plans to really strengthen that transition between school and or college or work. So it's both a document where students log courses and career goals, but it's also a process whereby students engage in self-reflection, career exploration, goal setting, planning, and then the overall implementation of that plan. And in our listening sessions with many of you and many folks in the field, what we found is that though ILPs are required, rarely are parents and caregivers brought into this process, other than maybe to like fill out the FAFSA, for example. So the focus of our work in this domain is to really map them onto the process in developmentally appropriate ways, of course, and set them up with information and questions and activities that really help them to be partners in this path towards their teens' post-secondary future. So this includes things like talking about strengths and aspirations, chatting about careers as you see them around you, or checking in about steps teens are taking towards their goals and about deadlines and applications. And of course, this form of parental involvement is backed up by research. Studies show that parents across socioeconomic status levels play a key role in promoting upward mobility, motivating teens to think about future employment, and really helping students navigate educational and career decisions. A 2017 study found that future wage earnings at age 26, this is ready, increased by 0.8% for each meaningful career conversation students experience in middle and high school. I mean, this is just such a tremendous opportunity for family engagement. All right. Next, we'll talk a bit about well-being and life skills. So this is the domain in which you'll see some of those skills that would traditionally fall under SEL. Only at this age of development, the skills have been taught, and we are now really practicing them within the service of overarching well-being and the ability to navigate life. Of course, this domain has a heavy focus on mental health, and this is critical. In fact, more critical now than ever before. A recent report that many of you may be familiar with from the CDC found that mental health among students overall continues to worsen, with more than 40% of high school students feeling so sad or hopeless that they could not engage in their regular activities for at least 2 weeks during the previous year. So you can imagine the impact of that on things like attendance. We recently surveyed parents of incoming high schoolers, asking what areas they wanted support with. And overwhelmingly, the topics related to mental health and well-being received the highest numbers. This was echoed in our listening sessions with many of you. Again and again, our partners have universally expressed concern over an observed rise in student anxiety, concerns over social media, and observations of what one of our advisors characterized as a rise in existential dread. So like all of our existing programs, we are not a mental health solution, but we do promote strategies, reflective practices, and parent-child interactions that build teens' ability to evaluate and share their feelings and build that trusting bond with a parent that then serves as a buffer against everything from everyday stress to trauma, right? The research is crystal clear. Strong relationships with caring adults is the single most powerful force in supporting adolescent mental health. The teens on our listening session, this is what they have been calling for: stronger relationships, to be listened to feel accepted by the people in their lives who love and care for them. Strong relationships are also a strong predictor of great attendance. When children feel connected to people, when they feel a sense of belonging, a sense that they are known, they are far more likely to maintain strong attendance.
So next we move on to the domain that's integral to creating strong parent and teen relationships, and that is approaches to parenting. So for all the reasons mentioned previously, parenting a high school adolescent presents unique challenges. So much change happens during the teen years, and we know that change can be stressful for all involved. This is why we want to give specific supports to parents and caregivers during this time period. There is this great analogy that was shared with us during a listening session that really captures what it's like to raise teens. Parents and caregivers are the sides of a pool, and adolescents, in all their emerging independence and growth, are swimming in the deep end. They come back to the side of the pool to catch their breath before pushing back off the wall. Parenting a high schooler is about being that wall to swim to. It's also about being that wall that can withstand being pushed off of. And sometimes it's about understanding when to throw in a rescue buoy. So this domain is all about supporting parents with the information and reflective practices they need to understand and navigate this ever-shifting role. We focus on activities, on skills, on strategies that build and maintain that all-important parent and teen connection. The foundation of this connection is helping parents and caregivers deepen their own knowledge of adolescent development. This domain really aims to celebrate this amazing period of growth and development that's happening during adolescence. Right, we all know that the teen years can have a stereotypical bad rap. And for the sake of parent and teen connection, boy, do we need to change that. We support parents and caregivers as they discover and develop a positive adolescent mindset. So research from Ford and Miller demonstrated that parents with positive views about teens have better communication and report better well-being. But when parents held negative stereotype beliefs about teens, it actually harmed communication. So at this age and stage of increasing independence and communication, we really know that communication is between parent and teen is everything. And our research indicates that the quality of the relationship matters too between parents and children and teens. It plays a substantial role in determining just how much information parents can gather. So, what are some of the characteristics that researchers found? Well, being able to ask one another for help, shared responsibility, spending time together, communication, praise, consistency, positivity, reasonably monitoring an adolescent's activity, right? This is the awareness of where they will be and who they will be with. And this was talked about a lot during our teen listening sessions, respect. Our topical coverage supports all of these characteristics. We really guide parents and caregivers in building and maintaining these skills in developmentally responsive ways so they can best support their teens' transition into adulthood. And because no matter what the age of the child you parent is, you have to maintain your resilience and sense of self too, we offer self-care tips and strategies for parents and caregivers as well. And now we move on to our final domain, and that's home and school partnership. We like to say that this is where we give families the goods to navigate the systems of school, build relationships with the school, and really advocate for their students' needs. Our program supports the shift that is happening in family engagement towards parent leadership and joint decision-making. And this is the domain where we really lay the foundation for parents and caregivers to be able to step into collaboration and even leadership within the high school model. So how do we support families as they build that reciprocal relationship with the school and navigate the new high school model? Well, it all begins with some foundational knowledge that all families need to have. And it's really about us guiding them so that they can discover answers to key questions like, how does my child's school work? What are the expectations? How can I engage in high school? What information is important to share at this level? And why does my voice matter in high school? And what are ways that I can share my insights about my student? So we know that anytime families enter a new phase of their child's education, there will be new systems, routines, and expectations that can feel overwhelming and alienating if families really don't understand them. So this is why we focus on supporting parents and caregivers on how to access key information like points of contact, connecting with supports, and really understand those all-important graduation requirements within the high school model. We offer strategies that focus on developmentally appropriate advocacy and cueing families to understand the importance and benefits of great student attendance to build right knowledge, community, and everything we want for all kids, which is a positive graduation outcome. This domain also focuses on giving parents ways to support the many transitions that exist within high school. From that very beginning initial transition into high school, we support both the parent and the student, all the way to that transition from high school to college or career. And wow, is this final transition a big one. So our research found that up to 40% of students who finished high school with the intention of going to college actually didn't go. Without the continued support of the school system, it can become too challenging to navigate this transition. So our year-long program can provide that extra 3 months of support that schools just aren't in a position to do once their students have graduated. And in this message sample on the slide, I want to call attention to the fact message. So as Rebecca mentioned earlier, every 5th week, we cover a topic in which parents might need more information or support. So this one is about the importance of strong attendance. So fact, strong attendance is critical in high school. So much learning happens every day. For ways to set the stage for a year of strong attendance, click here. And with a click, families will be taken to additional resources that look like the following. Here, can you advance the slide one more? There we go. There are our resources. These are one-page PDFs that offer an extra bit of information that will help parents and caregivers more deeply understand a topic and provide even better support and guidance to their teen. So topics will include everything from attendance, communication skills, navigating technology, all the way to key college and career readiness supports. And that is high school. Thank you for your attention today.
All right. So now we just really want to open it up to conversation. Of course, we're happy to take any questions, but really, we just have so many brilliant people in this meeting right now. And we know you're brilliant because we've spoken to you. And again, many of you have surfaced insights that helped inform this program. So we'd love to also hear, like, what are you working on when it comes to family engagement? What is working? What are some of your challenges? I know some of you are developing some of your own resources. And so I would love to just hear about what's going on for all of you. I know, and whoever wants to volunteer to go first, this is like the big pressure seat.
I'll jump in.
Great.
Well, I just want to commend you because in the 5 areas that you have put together, it's outstanding. It's exactly what I work with the migrant program, Montana Migrant Education. We're supporting what's already going on academically in the schools. But our biggest challenge right now is with the high school students, and it's surrounding everything that you've mentioned. We're working really hard right now on attendance. We're working on trying to get them focused into, do you want to go to college? Do you want to go to a trade school? Do you want to learn how to fill out an application to immediately go to work and get a job? And some of our issues we're dealing with are language barrier, because we're getting more and more of our migrant families into Montana that don't speak English. And so we are recently hired a translator. One of the other areas, because it's so universal and it's my own passion, is mental health. So last year we partnered with NAMI here in Montana, and especially in this Billings area. And I brought NAMI out to our parent meeting, and I introduced them to NAMI and all the activities that NAMI provides free to families. And so I think there's a lot of things. I mean, you've covered the breadth of it. There's nothing you've missed that I can see. It's just what I love about what you're doing is parents are busy right now. It's probably the hardest time of their life to transition these kids. And one of the biggest things they have to learn is the brain is not fully developed till they're 25 years old. And this window of time is critical for mental health and just learning how to problem solve, make smart choices, be mindful, all of the things that you're bringing to bear. And I'm just so happy with what you're doing and having those little links so the parent doesn't have to get on and find it themselves. It can go right to them and relieve a lot of stress they might be feeling over a particular topic. So kudos to you folks. It really looks wonderful.
Thank you, Pat. Let me ask a follow-up question, and this is for anyone who has large, either migrant, newcomer, or first-generation families. Are you finding you're offering different college, career, kind of next step resources for those populations?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things is trying to get them to graduate, because the dropout rate for people that are on the fringes, in especially trauma-based settings, is higher. We're looking at things like GED. We work with them in GED areas. You've heard of HiSET probably at the high school level. We're working with students in those areas. We're trying to get them hooked up with our adult education here locally, because it supports areas that they might be more interested in versus going to college. And the meeting I just had with my parents, one of the big takeaways from that meeting from the parents' perspective was making sure that kids recognize that not everybody's going to go to college. And if you're not, they get mired down in that sometimes in school, and that causes a lot of absenteeism, dropout, and so forth. But trying to find their passion and leading them in that direction, whether it be a trade school or just a 2-year school or an apprenticeship, a mentorship in the community that they could explore something that maybe might lead to something down the road. Some of those things are been helpful for us because we have tutors at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school, that are going in and working with our migrant kids as needed.
Awesome. How about other folks on the call? Any practices you found particularly effective, especially in regards to folks who may be approaching college and career transition for the first time? We talked to a lot of departments where there were new initiatives, and I know we're seeing this in our own district being set up, and sort of reimagining the college and career process through the lens of just eliminating common barriers. So how can we break down the terminology? How can we kind of provide a lot more scaffolding? Yeah, Jessica.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know if I was listening to something or reading an article about it. But they were talking about how the deterrence on price.
Sound went away.
Oh, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So the deterrence for a lot of first gen families is the price tag on college, but many don't understand that, like, the process for financial aid, and that, like, barely anybody's paying that full price. And so part of that is, like, getting them to understand the process to begin with, and why filling out that FAFSA is so important to begin with. Because if you're looking at that well before you're even thinking about college, and thinking college isn't for me, we can't afford it, then we're putting up a barrier that might be a barrier of perception for some families as well. So I just thought I'd throw that out there if that's helpful.
And I'm curious to hear from you, Jessica, because I know you are also really diving into the high school sort of landscape in terms of family engagement. Is there anything that, like, is top of your mind that we really didn't talk about, or that you want to add on to in terms of your own work?
No, and I was also just thinking about it as a parent. I have a junior, and talking to some of my friends who we were in a situation, we were talking about this the other day, Rebecca. We're in a situation where we have a wealth of resources in our very small community, and a pretty high socioeconomic status. And I was talking to some parents who were, like, not even sure about doing college visits and what that would look. I think sometimes we just take it for granted that, like, everybody knows, people know what to do because they went to college. And, like, my husband was saying, like, he went to college. He never went on a college visit. His parents just gave him, said apply to 2 or 3 places close by, or whatever that looks like. So, I like that idea of just having just those small things to get you prepped for it. Even if you have someone who's doing the work, you're fortunate enough to have someone who's doing the work at the high school. How do parents engage with that person, and what questions should they ask? And, how do they know who that person is? Might be some empowering things to think about, like, to prime the pump as they start early in the process, like in 9th grade, not waiting until their junior year. But, how do you know what your school district offers, and who do you ask? And maybe also asking, like, when they should start. Getting parents to ask, like, when should I start thinking about these things? Because we started getting a ton of information junior year, but we didn't get anything freshman and sophomore year. And I didn't know it was coming. Do you know what I mean? To be able to say, like, oh, it's coming. This is the timeline for things. There wasn't, like, a look ahead. It was like, when it came, it came. I don't know if that's helpful.
Absolutely. And speaking of parents, I guess, show of hands on this call, do folks have parent policy councils and parent advisory groups that are forming at the high school level? Yeah, I'm seeing some head nods. I see you nodding, Donna. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've got going on? You don't mind being put on the spot, you can also pass.
Well, I can only speak from, currently I'm not in a high school. I work with the county behavioral health services. But in the high school, we had the parent committee that was involved in helping with making decisions at the school, not obviously all decisions, but an advisory committee that was very helpful. And, you know, it's interesting from the administrative part, they listen to parents. And, you know, sometimes if there's a real issue, when the parents get involved, you know, it says who listens, everybody listens. And so parent advisory committees are very important. And it's different than just like the parent teacher organizations or, you know, that organization, which also is quite important. But the parent advisory councils are super helpful.
Has anyone implemented youth advisory councils as well?
Our district also had youth advisory councils, and even at the even at the district level, the superintendent had youth advisory councils. You know, being involved with those, it's great to hear the suggestions from the youth. Sometimes those suggestions are followed and sometimes they're not, but at least the children get the opportunity to express their feelings.
On Monday, we had a listening session with a youth advisory board. And I think the value of those sessions was so amplified in this one moment. So we've spoken to many parents and caregivers and practitioners. And we ask them, like, what are the times that you really feel like you can connect with your teens? And universally, first thing they say, and I bet you can all guess, the car. We do it in the car. And they specifically said, because, you know, they can't go anywhere. They're trapped. We asked the teens, where do you like connecting with your parents and caregivers? And they said, not the car. You can't go anywhere. You're trapped. And it's amazing just to get both perspectives. What you do with that is the next question, of course. I'm wondering if we can touch a little bit on attendance. I'm sure many of us heard the federal report on this being one of the top 3 priorities, and obviously in response to major drops in attendance. What are some of the interventions you're seeing at the high school level? And what do you see working? Is there anything that's sort of not working? I'm just curious to kind of get folks' thoughts on that.
One of the things I know that's preventing some of the students from attending, at least our migrant students, is that level of anxiety and depression that some of them are feeling. And some of them are germaphobes. And, you know, post-COVID, they're feeling stressed about being around a lot of people, being in those close proximity with others. And so trying to have conversations surrounding why the attendance, what's going on with the attendance. We're trying to talk with our parents and in turn talk with the kids and seeing what some of the challenges are that they're facing. And that's helping some.
Are you doing one-on-one conversations? Are you sending out surveys? What are some different ways?
Out some things through Ready 4K. Or through ParentPowered now. I'll always call you Ready 4K.
Schoolers aren't going to like that.
Conversations directly with families, and we're also talking with the students themselves to see what's going on. And in some cases, we're working with the counselors, because my high school tutors are working directly with the counselors to see what might be happening. But I think that communication is key, because you can't assume until you actually talk to people.
Anyone else seeing any bright spots when it comes to attendance?
One other thing I'll mention, being a former elementary teacher, attendance was critical, and it was huge in the lower income schools. And some of the schools across our community have instituted incentives, like, you know, they would buy things and they'd have these once a month, they'd have different things that they did. Like for us, sometimes we'll buy gift cards and we'll say, hey, you hang in there and get this many days in school, we'll give you this. Sometimes just dangling a little carrot helps a little bit. It's like anybody, we got kind of lazy over COVID, not coming to school, and they got comfortable. And now it's really hard mentally for them to rethink about that. And we have to do some training on that because they don't, I just think families are more lackadaisical about how important attendance is. And educating them on that is going to be pretty critical moving forward.
That was one of the things that came up again and again in our listening sessions, is the importance of just being very clear about what the expectations are, and kind of what they are in general, but also kind of what it means at the high school level. This is a sort of a personal anecdote, but my high schooler was recently just out for COVID and she missed 3 days of school. And I got an email that said Sadie's attendance. And so of course I was like, oh no, it's the letter. And it was the exact opposite. It said, congratulations on Sadie's great attendance. She's only missed 3 days of school. Keep it up. If you have any challenges, here's the number to call. Let's talk about it. What I loved so much about that approach is it was strength-based, but it was like hugely motivating to get right after your child has been absent. It was kind of this feeling of like, okay, we got to really try to not miss any more days, which I think was the intention, but it was within the service of keeping up great attendance, right? So it was like, I loved that strategy. It felt very resonant with the work that we do in terms of always trying to find that strength-based approach, even when we're talking about, things that could traditionally be seen as a deficit. So I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to Attendance Works, and I was like, well, this is a definite example of a great attendance strategy. I need to send something to the principal to let her know that I thought that too.
Well, one of the things too is educating the families, because with the migrant, they're moving around. They don't always understand, especially at the middle school, high school, predominantly the high school, how many days are too many. Where it becomes critical as to whether they can pass that grade level or not. And sometimes it's just helping them, educating them so that when the child is getting close to the mark and that some kind of communication goes out saying, hey, your child's kind of in a critical situation and here's why, would you be willing to meet with us and have a conversation, or whatever that might look like for whatever, the parent, the child, and the institution. Because you can't always assume that parents know these things, because unfortunately, a lot of them don't have time to be as proactive as we'd like to believe they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some we've discovered in our resource creation that there actually are some great, wonderful resources where you can, very quickly and easily look up your child's attendance laws within your state if you don't have access to that at a school level, which, in other words, if the school is not being proactive in sharing that, we're able to put things in families' hands that allow them to discover the information. This is so wonderful to see all of you together. I want to make sure that you come with us on this journey and that you also continue to let us know, like, what's happening, because this is a living, breathing thing. The wonderful thing about text messages is we can be responsive. Something that all of you might not know is, like, when we hear feedback from the field, we update our messaging. We make tweaks. And so I just want to encourage all of you to keep telling us what you're seeing, what you're hearing. This is like the most valuable insight in the field, is the insight that all of you have. Here, I don't know if there's anything we're going to share out the slides, first of all. So if you're looking at those and you're like, they're not covering this thing now that I look at this, email us, let us know. But also, we definitely want to be in touch to keep talking more about this. Here, was there a way to best communicate moving forward?
Yeah, we'll share the slides and the recording of this session with all of you. If there's anything in particular that you're looking for, we have made notes from the chats based on the requests coming in. But if there's anything we can send to you based on our new framework or anything else, just reach out to me and Megan, and we will reply to you, send you all the resources you need, and help out in any way. And to Rebecca's point, if you guys ever want to chat, tell us what you're finding out from your teens that you're serving or the families that you're serving. We'd be happy to connect with you on a call and learn more about how we can integrate your findings into our program as well. And we did have a quick survey that we wanted you all to take. So is it okay if we move on to that, Rebecca?
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. And we have just a very quick 3-question survey, multiple choice, that you can take on your phone if you scan this QR code, or if you want to take it on your computers. This is the link. It's bit.ly/COP_partner_survey. We would really appreciate you taking this. Thanks, Maren, for dropping the link in the chat. We've put the bit.ly link in the chat as well, if it's easier for you.
All right. And once you've filled that out, I just, again, thank you so much. We're going to get together again next month to talk about a different topic, and this will become sort of hopefully an ongoing thing, so we can keep gathering and sharing insights, talking about what we're seeing in our own work, and really kind of cultivating a community of practice. If there's stuff also that you want to put out there for future gatherings, let us know.